Hi, and welcome to Project 45's first ever podcast. My name is Jack,
And I'm Michael.
and we're the founders of Project 45. So, a little bit about what Project 45 is before we get started with this podcast. Project 45 started out as a community action group with the mantra of making America great, and the emphasis is on making. We wanted to create localized community projects that encourage people to get involved in their community, to make a difference in their community, all while raising awareness towards certain issues. Don't get me wrong, we're not from big city America, a big sprawling suburban area. So the problems that we were addressing were big city type problems, but we also wanted to make sure that people were aware that these problems don't just affect big cities; they affect small town America and middle town America. So we started out with a little project towards the homeless, and we collected numerous amount of items to put together these care packages for homeless encampments. They were passed out to homeless in camps, people sleeping under bridges in the community, homeless shelters, just essentials to kind of help them get by while living on the streets. And that kind of expanded to other projects that we collected new and used coats that were donated to local elementary school for children who didn't have coats that were attending elementary school. Then from there, it went to collecting pairs of new shoes, and we donated those to another impoverished school in our community. And then we decided that we wanted to take it a step further, and we wanted to provide nutritious meals to the homeless in the community, to expand on programs. These people relied on government, and government aid stopped at a certain point. And we wanted to fill gaps, and we wanted to fill the needs in the community. So we went out and we put together these meals that weren't just geared towards homeless people, but they were geared towards impoverished neighborhoods where people had a job, people had a home, but not necessarily the income to make put a good, decent meal on the table. So we wanted to have an opportunity, or provide an opportunity to reach out to those people and give them a good Thanksgiving meal, a Christmas dinner. So we did that. We did those things. We did the Feed the Hunger projects around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, and that's just a little way to, like I said, just gets people involved in their community. It raises awareness to issues that Americans are out there suffering, not what the mainstream media wants you to think, that Americans are all fine, they're all privileged, and there's no problems in the world, that all the problems exist with non-Americans, and then all our resources should be geared to them. So this podcast, we wanted to provide our listeners with a real perspective on the issues of today, so that you, the listener, can make a more informed decision, critically think, and discover for yourself what the real truth is and what fake news is. And two important things we were going to harp on in this podcast, and you can bear with us, or we're just getting started. Our audio may not be that of some podcasts, or we're kind of learning these things, so just kind of bear with us. But we'll hope as we get further and further along, we'll improve, and our listener base will improve, and you'll enjoy the content that we're giving to you. But we want to touch base on two things that we just said. The first thing is critically think. And the second thing is fake news, and we'll elaborate a little bit on those right now. But Michael's going to talk a little bit about what critical thinking is, the definition of critical thinking, and get us started on today's podcast. So,
I think one of the most lacking things that we have today in today's society, especially among, voters and millennials and the basic population of America, is the ability to think critically. I don't think it's taught in school. I don't think it's taught in colleges. I think most colleges and most schools, they indoctrinate children through repetition, through rote memorization of certain topics, through selective teaching of history and and other things that they're just taught to memorize and just accept what they're being told instead of researching and thinking through a topic or an idea. So just to give us a working definition of what critical thinking is, I pulled this just off the internet. This is just a basic Google search of a internet definition of critical thinking, and it is a noun, and it's the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Let me read that again. It is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. So let's break that down a little bit and think about what this definition says. It's the objective analysis and evaluation. That means you on your own take the individual pieces of an issue and you look at them, you think about them for yourself, you do research, you determine what the overall picture of the issue is, and you make a judgment for yourself. Now, most media today will give us the facts about a topic or an issue and then tell us what to think about that issue. And most people will run with that. And I'll take one instance for illustration purposes. Is we were put in a situation where we were an anti-protest to a protest. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, they were trying to take down a statue of a Confederate general, and it was the NAACP and another social justice warrior group that was out there advocating that young kids in the black community could not receive justice, could not achieve their dreams and their goals because there was this statue of this virtually unknown Confederate general on the courthouse lawn of the Hamilton County Courthouse.
Now, this was in the height of the take down the statues.
Oh yeah, this
was
was in
the movement
of
all yeah. that. So it's not something very
Charlotte. This was in the height of the frenzy over Charlotte.
But take into context what he just said. This is Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is this is not a sprawling. I don't want to say unimportant, but it's not one of your major U.S. cities involved in the crisis of this take down the statue movement. This is Chattanooga, Tennessee, a highly conservative, deeply red state of Tennessee.
Right.
And suddenly this NAACP and this social justice church Mercy Junction Church. Yeah. They decide that this statue in Chattanooga is somehow oppressing people. So I just had to interject that there, but go ahead and get back to your story.
So the statue is interjecting people, and the interesting thing, or the statue is oppressing people. So the interesting thing about that is that one of the leaders of the NAACP had initially told a local paper in Chattanooga that they wanted to take down the statue of the Confederate general and replace it with a black man who had been lynched in the early 20th century and hung from one of the bridges in Chattanooga. They wanted to replace that. But when we confronted the NAACP, they said that was not the fact. But it was in print, quoted, that was their intended goal. But anyway, so we were confronted with we were confronted, obviously, because we were in a minority. I think there were maybe 6 of us on our side protesting against the removal of the statue, and there were probably maybe 75 to 100 with this Mercy Junction Church and the local NAACP. And mind you, in Chattanooga, the south side of Chattanooga and the inner city areas of Chattanooga are so riddled with gang violence that every single day on the news there's a report of a shooting in a black neighborhood. But the NAACP is so concerned that this statue that's been there for almost 100 years is the one major plight and major thing that's oppressing the black community in Tennessee, in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Just to elaborate a little bit on what Michael just said about the crime in Chattanooga, the NAACP says that this statue is the single most oppressive thing to the black community in Chattanooga. But Chattanooga, Tennessee, according to crime statistics, has a 64% higher than violent crime rate than Tennessee's average, while remaining 178% higher than the national average in crime. And mind you that this demonstration, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, took place, within a couple miles? A mile?
At least a mile. I would say it's about a mile from the areas where the majority of this crime occurred.
And those are predominantly black neighborhoods.
And it's black on black crime. It's not white people committing crime against black people. It's not lynchings. It's not the KKK. It's gang violent black on black crime.
But here we are at the steps of Chattanooga, the back steps of a non-functional entrance to the courthouse.
It's administrative only.
Correct.
It's where the courts building is across the street where actual criminal court, sessions court takes place. The only thing that takes place in the Hamilton County Courthouse, to my knowledge, is the city council meetings. Whereas what this issue was going to be voted on later on that week or the next week, I think. But I'll just say this, that we prevailed. That I believe that truth prevailed and right prevailed. And we said all along, and we even talked to the news media in Chattanooga, and we said we have no problem for the NAACP sponsoring, petitioning the city, petitioning the county, getting it approved through the proper channels of government to erect a statue to this individual who was lynched here in Chattanooga in the early 20th century. We have no problem whatsoever sharing the courthouse lawn with this individual. If you want to erect a statue to this man who was lynched, who was wrongfully murdered, which is really the case, he was wrongfully murdered. I mean, you can't say that lynching in any case, whether it be black on black, white on white, crime is crime. Wouldn't you agree, Jack?
Yeah, crime is crime.
Crime
the
is
color,
crime.
the
Murder
color
murder.
is
It's irrelevant. That's why justice, the statue, the statue of justice is blindfolded. Is blind. In reality, maybe that's not the case, but
the intent of the justice system is a partiality. That's
impartiality.
Impartiality,
yes.
Correct. Excuse me, but I think one of the most telling aspects of that demonstration was the fact that the NAACP, the Mercy Junction social justice group that operates out of Chattanooga, took small black children under the age of
teenage,
under the age of 10,
7 to 10 years old,
and paraded these children up on to this statue and told those children that they would never receive a fair shake in society. They would never receive justice, that the deck was already stacked against them because they were black and this statue was on this courthouse lawn, an inoperable entrance to the courthouse, not even used for criminal or civil proceedings, that this statue placed in this courthouse square had already placed them in a box that they can never ever overcome. And that was one of the things that we pointed out, is how could you sit there and place these kids of no matter what color, that you predestined them to a life to slavery and injustice because of some inanimate object that you gave this absolute power to.
That you've ascribed this power to oppress.
Yeah.
That statue has not oppressed anybody in the 100 years that it has existed. But suddenly, this social justice warrior group and the local NAACP chapter has ascribed power to a granite statue on the courthouse lawn, and now suddenly this statue has the power to oppress children.
When the real injustice that we aim to point out was taking place within a mile or two down the road. The real injustice was the fact that the black communities in this area were riddled with crime, drugs, prostitution, gang members. That these children that you've placed up on this statue weren't being oppressed by this inanimate stone statue that was being placed in this courthouse, but the fact that their own community was already against them, that their own community was shooting up their neighborhoods, selling crack and other drugs and in their neighborhood, prostituting out young girls, taking these young children and basically forcing them to join a gang or get killed basically in Chattanooga. So there's the real injustice. There's the real problem with this area. I mean, this was just a precursor to get us started where we're at right now in these podcasts. And I think that goes to the part of critical thinking and the fake news. And that fake news was a term that's been coined often by President Trump. We'll get into that a little bit later. We'll give you examples of that. But, critical thinking has to start with the individual. And I think it starts with television. And a lot of people think, they tune in each night and they get their news from Fox, they get their news from CNN, MSNBC, whatever source you get your news from. That's a slice of society. The conservatives are naturally probably going to get their news from Fox or Newsmax or some other conservative type news organization, and the liberals, the ultra left, are going to get theirs from CNN and MSNBC. So you kind of divided the audience when you go strictly to TV for news. Because let's be honest with each other, we're going to go watch the news that kind of fits our view, our paradigm.
The way we see culture today, we're gonna either go to red Fox or we're gonna go to blue CNN. It's the division of society, and that's a plan. It's a plan to divide. Because I'm just to throw in a little Bible term. Jesus said in the Bible that a house divided against itself cannot stand. So our real enemy, just to put it out there, our real enemy is the government. And if the people who are supposed to control and run the government are divided against themselves, they can never overthrow the house.
Correct. And I mean, that's what we're seeing today in our society. It's the division of the American people. It's never been so much more divisive than it is today, where a man or a woman can walk down the street in a MAGA hat, and people have been compelled to attack you, ridicule you, call you names in the streets of America. I mean, I can recall going to the inauguration, and that is the first time that I have ever set foot in Washington, D.C., and that is the first time that I ever felt that I was not in America. I was not free to wear my MAGA hat. I was not free to express my political opinion without being called racist, Nazi, attacked, spit at, all the things that you see in the news today that are going on. And that's where we're getting at. We're leading up to our first topic. Whether you listen to Fox News or you listen to CNN, each one of those is a business. And they have a business model. Fox News and CNN doesn't succeed without financial support and gain. So I'm not going to sit here and say that you don't get some news from either one of those news organizations, or so-called quote news organizations, that you don't get some facts from those. But I'm going to sit here and say that, do you actually get the real truth and the real news from either one? Whether you are conservative and hardcore believe in Fox, and I'm going to admit, I listen to Fox 95% of the time. That's my go-to source. But I watch Fox News and I critically think what Fox News is going. And I think that's what we're going to get into here a little bit. I mean, we can go back to the early. We were talking about fake news, and that's a little bit about half reporting issues. Like there are news reports out there that are factual, but they're half reported. And I think we've got a little video if we can get it to play here in a minute, a little audio. This goes back to the 1990s. I mean, that's probably one of the first examples. I'm sure there's plenty more out there, but this is the one that caught our eye. This is an NBC report, right, Michael?
Dateline NBC.
A Dateline NBC report about Chevrolet GM trucks spontaneously catching on fire.
On impact.
On impact.
Yeah.
At a certain angle of an impact. And so Dateline NBC put together this big montage story of how if you drove one of these GM Chevrolet pickup trucks, you were going to die if you got in a certain kind of crash, that they were going to spontaneously catch on fire, and
basically the GM tests that were being conducted to show the safety or to test the safety of the vehicles were being rigged. But what Dateline actually ends up, and NBC News actually ends up admitting to, is that they rigged their own test of the GM truck.
Yeah, I don't know if this video plays it, but if not, we'll give you a kind of a little background. When they did this demonstration, if you will, of how these vehicles were going to explode on impact, a firefighter associated with the taping of NBC's test contacted GMC within a matter of days after the filming of this test, and notified GMC or GM that NBC had faultily or falsified.
They had basically planted incendiary devices
to fit their narrative
around the impact site, around the gas tank, gasoline area of the truck, to ensure that it ignited on fire when on impact.
So we're going to play a little bit of that audio for you.
NBC's contractor did put incendiary devices under the trucks to ensure that there would be a fire if gasoline were released from the truck's gas tank.
We said the crash, quote, forced gasoline to spew from the fuel cap, end quote. GM says since the gas cap was the wrong cap for the GM filler tube, and because the gas tank was overfilled, the cap came off when the impact occurred.
We agree with GM that we should have told our viewers about these devices.
The Dateline reporter, however, said, quote, at impact, a small hole was punctured in the tank, unquote. GM has now x-rayed that tank and found no hole.
We acknowledge the placing of the incendiary devices under the truck was a bad idea from start to finish.
So, I mean, there you have it. NBC, 1992,
yeah,
already admitted, hey, we have falsified this report so that it fits our narrative that, my God, if you're going to drive this Chevrolet pickup truck, you and your family is going to burst into flames, God forbid, if you get hit in the side. But we had to rig it so much that to fit our narrative that it's almost implausible for this situation to happen to you on the street.
They put the wrong gas cap on the truck. They overfilled the tank, and they put incendiary devices on the truck. So they basically created the perfect storm. And when the perfect storm didn't happen, they blew it up.
So I mean, I find that hard to believe that this is I mean, this is the 90s when, I mean, I remember growing up in the 90s, you had 3 channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Those were your news.
I don't think Fox started till 96 or the late 90s.
I might have been too old for that. But, I mean, yeah. I remember growing up with those 3. You had those nightly newses, and, you know, sometime, you know, in the 90s, the cable boom started, and we had CNN and all this other fake news that rose up. But, I mean, there you go. An admitted falsification of a report that fit the narrative so it would explode on TV and they would get scared of the masses, like, don't buy these GMC trucks, blah, 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 tune in and watch us. Because, I mean, ultimately, if you don't tune in and watch NBC, or ABC or CBS, I mean, their advertisers are going to go away. They're not going to have revenue, and they're not going to be able to function. So they've got to hook you in. I mean, you can see that on the local news. I mean, we see it here all the time. It's always
sensational TV.
It's sensational TV.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's going to snow. It's raining so hard outside, you're going to drown on your commute to work. It's a code red this.
Yeah.
It's a weather alert. It's alert this. Traffic alert. It's all these words that trigger you. And I think you have a little insight onto this Yuri. How can you pronounce?
Yuri Bezmenov.
Yeah, so you have a little insight on him, and I think that's a good segue into this. And we're going to give a little video on Nancy Pelosi. I think somebody took the collar off of her, and she exposed a little truth. So we'll get into that a little bit. But on Yuri Bezmenov,
he talks about subversive ideology. But I think the best thing to describe our news and our media today is subversive propaganda. And just to give you a little a working definition of subversive propaganda, it's biased information publicized to promote a transformation of principles of a system in an attempt to transform social order, structures of power, and authority along with social norms. So it's basically whatever they need to say to change the way you think and social norms. And we can see that today, just to throw out some examples with transgender and homosexuality and all this other stuff. You know, years ago it was a taboo to be transgender or cross-dresser or homosexual or whatever, but all of a sudden it's
we've added another alphabet, a letter to the alphabet to this
LGBTQ, XYZ, whatever.
And we'll get into that on another video,
Exactly.
I'm sure, because that's a hot topic that we want to discuss. But here's a little excerpt of a video by Yuri Bezmenov on psychological warfare, subversion and control of the Western society. That kind of gives us a little idea that, you know, subversive propaganda, fake news, which we're terming, you know, we're going along more. Yeah, it's fake news, but it's got a bigger ultimatum than that. It's got a much bigger goal than just fake news. Oh, I reported it wrong. I manipulated it. These people have an agenda, and that's why we're talking about subversive propaganda.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about Yuri Bezmenov before we go into the video. He's a defector from the Soviet Union. He was actually a KGB agent in the 1960s, and he talks about in this video about how Russia used KGB agents in India. I don't know if he talks about it in this video, but he talks about it in other videos and other talks that he gives. But how the KGB in Russia infiltrated young people in India in the ashrams and the whole Eastern religion, the whole Beatles, British invasion mania of the 1960s. How Russia used that to infiltrate the youth and subvert the youth of the United States to basically bring in communism. So go ahead and play this video.
So we'll play a little excerpt of this and kind of give you an idea of the end game.
Yeah, the end game.
The end game of subversive propaganda. So we'll listen to the beginning of this.
Subversion is the term, if you look in a dictionary or criminal code to that matter, usually is explained as a part of activity to destroy things like religion, government system, political, economical system of a country. And
So there's the part we wanted to hear. This goes into the definition that Michael just spoke about. A transformation of principles.
Subversive propaganda.
Yeah, a transformation of principles of a system in an attempt to transform social order, structures of power and authority along with social norms. And you've got Yuri, this defective spy, correct?
Soviet Union, ex-KGB.
At ex-KGB, CIA
Defector,
level for Russia. You've got him. You've got him defining the ultimate goal of this subversive propaganda. That is basically to annihilate a society. You know, take brick by brick, structure by structure. You know, pulling out those pieces from political, social,
Religious.
and religious.
Yeah.
And
Because the best thing for every communist country is atheism.
right. So I mean, if you've got no faith
No
to turn
moral
to, no
The
moral.
state is God.
The state is God.
Yeah.
Your allegiance is to the state. There's
Yeah.
no higher power. There is no alternative choice for you. So that's where subversive propaganda falls into. We're going to give you examples of some propaganda here in a second, but we alluded to the fact that Nancy Pelosi, somebody had unplugged her from the
Yeah.
from
the
the-
Matrix.
from
I
the
guess she
Matrix.
got unplugged from the Matrix.
She got unplugged from the Matrix, and I don't know if her prescription ran out or whatever, but she clearly
She had one too many Xanax.
one too many Xanax, and she clearly gave away the secret. And this, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is completely a Democratic tactic, because I believe it's played on both sides, Republican or Democrat. But again, this is going to go back to thinking critically for you, not just believing what the media says. But here's Nancy at a Democratic House Agenda Forum or on broadcast on C-SPAN, I'm sure on other areas, and she's talking about the wrap-up smear. And the wrap-up smear, Michael, you can probably elaborate a little bit more on what the wrap-up smear. This is his thing. He's a huge Nancy Pelosi fan.
I love Nancy. I love her.
He gets up in the
I'm
morning.
sarcastically clapping
He-
as we speak.
Yeah, he's sarcastically clapping. He gets up in the morning. It's coffee and a daily dose of Nancy's political. How can I make it through the day?
No Xanax.
Yeah,
for
no.
me.
How can I make it without a
No
Xanax?
benzodiazepines for me.
Right, uplifting video. So, Michael, tell him what Nancy and her wrap-up smear. Tell him what all
Okay,
that,
so
what that is.
basically, I'll explain and then I'll let Nancy tell you exactly what it is. But the wrap-up smear is basically for all us simple-minded people like me, because I have to think about this stuff, because I see this stuff on, the news, and I'm like, did she really just say that?
She said it.
She really just said
She
it.
said it.
And I'm like, I have to think, did she really just say that? And this goes back to critical thinking. You have to analyze everything she just said. You have to critically think about what she just said to really understand. Because one of the tactics of the news is to just show us this stuff or show us the real truth. And they report it one time for 2.5 minutes and never talk about it again. But the lies, like the Russia probe, Russia collusion, even Fox News says Russia collusion over and over and over again. That's basically the wrap-up smear in action.
Yeah, you hear the words, Russian collusion.
You immediately think
Your
Trump.
brain's triggered. Your
Trump.
brain's triggered. You're like, oh, Trump, what's going on now? So you're going to tune in. You're going to tune into a dog. You're going to tune into a dog and a cat smoking a cigarette on the side of the street if they say Russian collusion.
Russian
And I'm going to
collusion.
tune into that because I've never heard a dog and a cat speak. But
Yeah.
but you see that on the side of the road, Russian collusion, you're probably going to put your car in a halt stop and pull over and see what the heck's going on.
Every network, I don't care what it is, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, they all use the term Russian collusion.
And-
They don't say alleged. They don't say possible. They don't leave any doubt in your mind that there's Russian collusion. It's Russian collusion.
And if you think you're safe when you tune into your local news, wrong. They're saying the same thing that the national news is saying.
Yeah.
I mean, they're owned by CBS, ABC, and NBC, so they're not going to deviate from the boss. They're not going to sit there and say it's alleged Russian collusion, a Russian hoax, a Russian investigation, blah blah. It's a Russian collusion because they have a narrative.
Who
So-
we determined the only people that say it's a hoax or it's a witch hunt is Tucker Carlson and
Sean Hannity.
And not that we're promoting either one of them because they work for a network, but they are the only ones that openly say it's a hoax or it's a witch
And
hunt.
I'm not going to sit here and say that either one of those are reporters or any news.
They're commentators.
They're commentators.
They're
They're opinionators,
Yeah.
and they have their opinion. But I mean, if you're going to watch TV, those are probably going to be the only two that will actually call it out for what it is, which is a hoax. But going back to Nancy Pelosi,
yeah.
Michael's favorite person in the whole world, there he goes with the sarcastic clap again. If you could see this on video, I literally could fall out of my chair right now. If he had on a white Klan suit from the or the State of the Union address.
Or was that the Nazi women?
Or is it the? I don't know. Maybe it's the Nazi
maybe,
women.
yeah.
It can be the Nazi women. We'll get into that in a later video too. How the Democrats of the KKK, the new Nazi Party of America.
Oh, don't get me started on the Nazi Party of America.
Well, let's stay on point with Pelosi.
Bush. Let me just throw in there the Nazi Party of the Bush family.
The Bush family.
The Bush family.
That's Michael's.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
whole,
wait, that's
that's a whole
nother
other video
show.
that I'm going to
Whole
sit here
nother
like a crazy person.
Prescott Bush.
But
Nazis.
Pelosi in the wrap-up smear, somebody's unplugged her from the Matrix. She's wild and crazy. She's on the loose. There's somebody in the background going, "Oh my God, how do we get the cane and pull her off the stage?" But here she is, live on C-SPAN, talking about how they have this strategy to demonize someone,
Right, to demonize someone.
regardless
Yes,
of the truth. That if we could just plant in the American people's ear this falsehood, this whatever truth, this what are people calling it now?
Well, she basically says it's a lie or whatever. So you demonize somebody, you tell this lie, and you get a news outlet to report it. And then you get it out there in the news. So CNN's talking about it, NBC's talking about it. It's printed in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and it's in the press. So now it lends credibility to this lie.
Because the almighty press, your reliable news source, put it out there. So therefore, it must be true. Let's let Nancy describe
Let's let
it.
Nancy
Nancy in her
describe
own word, ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Pelosi.
So you demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now we're going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
It's a tactic,
And it's self-evident.
It's self.
Hold on. We didn't properly give her Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker,
Nancy
yes, Madam
Pelosi.
Speaker,
Madam
the
Speaker,
all hail
Nancy
Madam
Pelosi.
Speaker,
Yes.
Nancy Pelosi. But she clearly said it's a tactic, and it's a tactic that both parties use, but it's a tactic that this radical left. Because I'm going to tell you, the Democratic Party, and I'm going to be the first one to sit here and admit in this podcast that I came from a family that was absolutely not apolitical.
Yeah.
My parents didn't vote. They did not want to vote. They did not want to be a part of the political system. They had thought that any participation in the political process was futile and their vote didn't matter, didn't count. However, I don't know what happened to me. I came out sideways. I don't know what happened, but I love politics from a very early age, and I cling to the Democratic Party. I grew up in the era of Bill Clinton. I remember his first campaign against George Bush in 92?
Yeah, 92, yeah.
So 92, I was 12, so giving away my age and my life out here. But I remember following at the age of 12, Bill Clinton, and here was this young, charismatic politician playing the saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show, and I was watching, I was loving it. It was everything that I wanted from a young kid that would love politics.
Smooth talking Southern
man, and being from Tennessee, that Southern accent, you probably can hear it on this microphone, and I apologize if you can't understand me. We'll have, maybe in the future we'll be able to put some subtitles on, but I love politics, and I grew up loving the Democratic Party, and I was always taught by old timers that I talked to in my youth about politics that the Democratic Party was the working man's party. But I'm here to tell you today that I switched parties. I ran on a local level as a Democrat. I was involved in the Democratic Party. I learned my lesson when I was told by the local Democratic Party in this past election in 2016 when Trump came down. I was very intrigued about Trump when he came down. I wasn't sure at the beginning, I'll be honest, if it was a joke or if it was a real thing or whatever. But I tried to stay within my own party, and I tried to keep my party from going to where it was today. But the local party was like, I remember the ultimatum. You will support Hillary Clinton you will go out here and do everything you can for Hillary Clinton. She's the candidate. She deserves to be the candidate. She deserves to be president because she's a woman and she's earned it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no straying from that.
The line of dead bodies behind her proves she's earned
Yeah,
it.
I mean, who was I to question Hillary Clinton? I didn't want to be, I didn't want to end up like Seth Rich or any of these other people, Vince
Yeah.
Foster. I mean, the list can go on and on. I mean, there's theories out there that expand. We could do a whole show on the dead bodies
the dead bodies
of the Clintons. But
and the Clinton Foundation and Haiti.
and Haiti Clinton. I mean, look at Haiti today.
It's a bottomless hole.
We just seen a report earlier on Haiti and the disruption that's going on in Haiti. But I mean, that's a whole other story as
When
well.
was the last time you heard about Libya? I'll just throw that out there to you.
Libya.
Think about Libya.
Is Libya still a country? Does it exist, or what's going on?
No, it has no legitimate government.
But here you go. I wanted the Democratic Party to still be for the working class people. So I'm perplexed when I'm sitting here with these people, and you've got these 70, 80-year-old people that are hardcore Democrats. I'm just like, is this the Democratic Party that you grew up in? This is not the Democratic Party from the 1990s that I grew up. We have shifted drastically to the left to the point that I don't think it's a Democratic Party anymore. That we've coined the phrase, it's the new American Nazi Party. It's the new Socialist Party. You see that in Ocasio-Cortez and these Omar, and I can't even, the MFer, we're going to impeach the MFer. I can't even pronounce her name.
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
I'll name her name. Rashida Tlaib.
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
So there you go. Thanks, Michael.
I want you to know who that MFer is.
Yeah, I'm just going to put out there, as a Southern boy, I cannot pronounce names unless you've got a common name. I can't, and I won't. So that's why I got Michael here. He can pronounce names. So you've got these Congress women out there representing the new Democratic Party, which is basically a socialist party. But I left the Democratic Party because I seen where we were going. And I never in my life thought that so soon would I see such a drastic shift to where we are right now. But here we are in the eve of socialism. And you're going to see with this new Green Deal and these other things, you're seeing the Democratic Party, the Socialist Democratic Party. I'm not even going to call them the Democratic Party. They're the Socialist Democratic Party under disguise of the old Democratic Party, trying to get the American people to open the door ever so slightly so they can stick their pinky finger in that doorway. And that is all they need to open the door to straight out, full-on socialism in the United States. And that's kind of one of our main goals we're moving forward to with Project 45 is to stem the curve of socialism in the United States. Because
Absolutely.
I don't want to say it's inevitable, but we're headed down that path. And that's where critical thinking is really, really going to play a key part. You cannot just watch the news. You cannot watch just TV, because you can sit there and you can watch you could avoid the news like the plague, and you can watch television. You can watch your sitcoms and your comedies and your award shows and your late night television shows. We're going to get to that here in a little bit, example of that. But that's where they get the masses.
And you can make your life so busy that you don't have time to breathe, and you've got to take Billy to soccer practice, you've got to take Jill to piano practice, you've got to take Susie to dance practice, and you've got to go here with your husband and spend time with your husband if you have a husband, or you got to get a divorce from your husband, whatever you have to do.
So you can be with your other husband or your transgender wife. I don't know what's going on in America.
Exactly.
The family is broke down.
Exactly.
So we alluded, we showed you one of the earliest examples. I mean, I'm sure there's earlier examples, but I mean, in our lifetime, the 90s, when we were teenagers and we were paying attention to society just a little bit, you've seen GM and the NBC Dateline production, not real news, it's production, because they needed something that fit their narrative to scare the living bejesus out of the mass public into not buying these GM products and creating this ratings extravaganza for Dateline, because that's what Dateline is. Don't tune into Dateline. They're not going to sell you the latest prescription drug that's got so many side effects that you're going to wish you had the original illness.
Yeah.
You're not going to tune into Dateline. You're not going to listen to that. So subversive propaganda. Going back to the propaganda, we're talking about how you're going to watch television. You're watching your sitcoms. You're watching your soap operas. You're watching this, and there's subtle messages.
Oh, soap operas are notorious for propaganda. But anyway,
soap operas are notorious, but I can't even bear to watch the soap opera. My mom loves soap operas, and I that's probably the one show that you can You can never
breakdown of the
ever
family,
single.
cheating
You
on
can
your
never ever watch and know
husband,
exactly
giving
what's
your
going on. It's
children
everybody's
up.
cheating. Well, we're not going to get
Oh,
into
it's
that.
horrible.
It's a break into a fight behind the microphone here, but but you're watching these television shows, you're watching your comedies, you're watching your Modern Families, you're watching your whatever show you watch is. You're watching those type shows, and you're getting a political propaganda piece. You're getting a message disguised in a comedy and a drama or whatever.
Yeah.
There's undertone of a message. It normalizes certain aspects of society. You see commercials during the Super Bowl. You see commercials with Sprint. You see commercials with other things that are normalizing AI technologies, robots, half human robots.
Yeah.
It's
Elon Musk telling
Yeah.
us. Elon Musk telling us that we either have to merge with the machine, which if that's not Matrix stuff, I don't know what is. But it basically, Elon Musk said if we don't merge with the machine or merge with technology, which is basically what he talked about was interfacing your brain with nanotechnology and basically becoming a cyborg, that we will become like cats to artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
But
so,
that's
I mean,
scary. I mean,
you want to
Elon Musk.
I mean, who wants to wake up in the morning and licking themselves and hacking up a hairball?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So,
But if you don't want to do that, you've got to get this injection.
yeah, you've got to
get this injection of nanotechnology.
nanotechnology. So this
Scary
the
stuff.
injection. So
Yeah,
we'll
talk
have
about
a
that
whole
later on.
yeah we'll have another video on injections. Michael's full of all these
vaccines.
our on-site conspiracy theory person is Michael. So we'll get into that later. He'll probably have his own show.
The occult,
I'll sit back and silently listen to his ramblings or his rants, but he will get on them. And when you get down into it, I want to say that they're not ramblings and not rants. There are actual factual truth in it,
Yes.
and there's something that makes you critically think. So I don't want to say that they're rants or ramblings or anything like that. There are factual things in there that get your brain thinking, and that's the point that we want to make. I think Michael we talked about this subject a little while ago, TV programming. And you think, oh, it's a TV program, as in it's a program that I watch. It's a television show. It's a comedy. It's a sitcom. It's a game show. It's a
scripted
reality show. It's
thing,
scripted
yeah.
TV programming. Michael has a different theory on that. We'll pick your little conspiracy brain a little bit on TV programming before we get into this video about from I believe it's the Late Show with Stephen Colbert and Ellen Page, the shining rising star, or I would say the mecca star of the LGBTQ XYZ community, whatever letter they've added to it now.
Yeah.
But Michael can tell you a little bit about programming, why it's called programming and TV, and then he'll lead us into the Ellen Page.
The Ellen Page, yeah.
Production.
Well, if you think about what you do to a computer, we call them IT. We don't call them computer programmers, but the most common term for them today is IT. But your brain in itself is a biological computer. It has memory. You can access that memory. It controls the motor functions of your body. And if you think about what you do to a computer, you program the computer. So if your mind is like a computer, it can essentially be programmed. And we know with psychological techniques like hypnosis and things like that, even they have seminars where you can go if you're a smoker and get programmed through hypnosis not to smoke. Well, there's scientific studies and research out there that show that television puts you into a lower state of consciousness. They call it beta waves. So you put yourself into this beta wave, or maybe it's alpha wave. Either way, I think it's alpha wave. It's a lower state of consciousness that it places you in, and that lower state of consciousness makes you more susceptible to suggestion. So they basically get you in this lower state of consciousness where they're able to, through the programming a computer, it's a program, television program, news program, to program you to think and believe a certain way, which goes back to what we're talking about, subversive propaganda. They're trying to subvert your ability to think critically, and instead of you thinking critically about what they're talking about, to put you in this lower state of consciousness where they can introduce these ideas and make you unconsciously believe and think certain things. So let's look at Ellen Page, and let's see, they're making a joke out of this. I mean, you know, she's a comedian. She's supposed to be taking this serious stance here, but in the same instance, they put it on this late night talk show, which we all know, you know, the masses watch this and they believe everything. They believe these things, and we've seen this over and over and over again, where we encounter, for lack of a better term, a leftist or a, you know, village idiot, which most of them act like, with no original thought on their own at all, or no critical thinking skills, even though they tout themselves to be educated, will spout off these talking points. And then when you ask the person to give you factual evidence to support their talking point, the best they can do is, well, you know it's true.
Yeah,
Well, you know. I mean, and that goes back to where we were talking about the statue. We were confronted while we were at the statue because we had a sign, because we were protesting, and protesters have signs, and it was a quote from Golda Meir. I can't remember the exact quote.
something, but those who don't know history were doomed to repeat history.
Yeah, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And this Jewish lady came up to us, and she said, it's ironic that you have a quote from Golda Meir, who was a prime minister of Israel, that you have a quote from Golda Meir considering Trump is an anti-Semite. And we're like,
yeah.
okay, so Ivanka Trump's a Jew.
Jared Kushner,
Jared
son-in-law,
Kushner's a Jew, and Trump is anti-Semitic. So can you please give us an example of how Trump is an anti-Semite? And she was like, you know, once upon a time in a land far away.
Yeah, it was just elaborate.
I mean, it was like she said, well, Trump didn't do something at a Jewish.
Well, she gave it. He gave us. I think she said. I think she referred to something that he gave a speech or something, and he said an anti-Semitic. I said, well, where was this speech at? She's like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, what was this speech about? She said, I don't know.
Exactly.
I was like, well, I've never heard this speech either. And you've got, if you have all these, you know, this evidence, this allegation that you're spewing at me and my president, you know, at least come at me with some facts to back it up. And this lady's like, well, I don't know this and I don't know that. And we're like, well, then, you know, you have nothing. And she's like, well, he just is an anti-Semite. Because she's been told that he's an anti-Semite. There's no factual basis that this man is an anti-Semite. I mean, Michael just pointed out that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner,
a top advisor,
is a Jew, and his daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism. I can't speak. Judaism. I mean, the man just moved the United States embassy and recognized the capital of Israel to Jerusalem, which on a biblical term is monumental.
Well, yes, on biblical terms, anybody who knows anything about Bible prophecy or end times or the Bible or anything can see that in the end times, that Jerusalem has to be recognized by the world as the capital of Jerusalem. And not only that, but geopolitically, it is a huge move to move the embassy, the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv, which is, you know, the political capital of Jerusalem, or of Israel, but to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Geopolitically, I mean, if anybody can remember back to when he actually declared that this was going to happen, it was a world uproar. the European Union, England. I mean, everybody was saying this is a horrible decision. This is the wrong decision.
And let's keep in mind that Trump didn't just pull this rabbit out of his hat. This was some grand ideal that Trump came up. These are ideals that former presidents have promised the American people. George Bush, I believe, Barack Obama, promised.
Which was the real anti-Semite.
The real
Obama.
anti-Semite.
But we'll talk about
another
that maybe
day.
later.
Another day. But I feel like we've said another day many times. But we do plan on more podcasts, so we're hoping that we can build on this one. But I mean, this is not a new ideal that Trump came up with. This is something that previous presidents have promised but never delivered. So the real critical thinking we're asking is, why didn't these presidents deliver on this practice? And Michael may have some insight to that from a more political or biblical perspective. I don't know, but
not today. In the future.
In the future, it could be an entirely different show. But I mean, there is a reason that establishment politicians and organizations across the world were absolutely up in arms over something that's been promised for years and years by Democrat or Republican presidents alike, and finally that somebody actually took a step to do it. There's your red flag, America. There is your what in the heck is going on moment. That this moved from an embassy or recognition that this city is the capital of Israel is so significant that it has really pissed off all of the establishment politicians, not only here in America but the world. But we'll get back to that on a different day. But let's go back to this Ellen Page, the LGBTQZXYZW whatever goddess that they put up here.
And
the spokesman
Colbert.
for Stephen Colbert.
Colbert.
Let's talk about Stephen Colbert. I mean, I was a David Letterman fan, but this is ridiculous that this guy's got the show now. At least Dave tried to be funny. This guy's just a political propaganda tool. But here we are with Ellen Page and Stephen Colbert. She's going to talk about, I think in this video, she's going to start out talking about climate change.
Climate change.
And how it's we're all going to die in 10 years.
By 2030.
And I mean,
by 2030, we're all going to be dead.
By 2030, we're all going to be dead.
But I think she puts it like that: the world as we know it is going to be significantly changed. But what does that even mean? I mean, to give away
it's going to be Mad Max level. We're going to be eating. We're going to be eating Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. We're going to be eating out of cans of Alpo dog food and riding around in these hopped up, souped up cars in the middle of a nuclear desert. But
I remember when I think I was in middle school, or maybe I was in 5th grade, like late elementary school, when they started talking about. Yeah, I'm old. When they started talking about the ozone.
Oh, the ozone.
There's a hole in the ozone.
The dreaded ozone.
The ozone layer's being depleted.
We're all going to fry. If you travel to the spot where the ozone is exposed, you're all going to fry.
We're going to be French fries if you don't stop using Aquanet hairspray.
Oh, gosh. Your hair women's hair was 3 feet tall back in the 90s. Sprayed down with this Aquanet hairspray. But if you don't stop using Aquanet hairspray, and I think they threw in styrofoam.
Styrofoam.
Which I don't know if you got your eyes open in the 21st century here, but I think we're still using styrofoam.
Well, styrofoam was the plastic of the. Styrofoam was the plastic of the 90s.
The plastic of the 90s.
The plastic of the 90s.
It was this. Use styrofoam. We're all going to live forever. Styrofoam
it never biodegraded. If we don't stop using styrofoam, the
chemicals, the CFCs,
the landfills are going to be overflowing with styrofoam and blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
don't break
blah,
it open,
blah.
don't crush it. The chemicals that were emitted from the broken up styrofoam are going into the atmosphere. I think the cows are farting too.
Well, the cows have been farting.
The cows are farting.
Time.
I mean, that's probably in it. The demise of the dinosaurs. Screw that. Yeah. The asteroid. It was the dinosaurs were farting the whole time. But here you got the 80s, late 80s, 90s. The ozone layer was going to kill us. We're all going to fry. The earth was going to heat up to a point where we're all going to melt.
And then we come to the inconvenient truth.
The inconvenient truth. Thank you, Al Gore, for shedding
the
light.
internet. Thank you for the internet.
Thank you
Al
for.
Gore.
Shout out to Al Gore that we can come to you live on a broadcast
Live on the internet.
for Al Gore creating the internet. By the way, I did support Al Gore.
He was a Democrat.
I was a Democrat. So that's a full disclosure. I did vote for Al Gore, but I have since been medically induced, and I'm fine.
Well, since he's red pilled.
I've been red pill.
Red pill.
I've been red
I think
pill.
that's the best term for it.
I
It's
took the red pill. Trump. Thank God for Trump and the red pill.
Yeah.
But I've been red pilled, and I finally see the truth, and not the inconvenient truth, but the actual truth.
Well,
but
the real truth is really inconvenient.
It is real. It is inconvenient.
Yeah.
So we went from the ozone was going to kill you to this inconvenient truth that the
climate,
the ice caps were going to melt. We're all going
global warming. It started out.
Tennessee
as
was going to have
warming.
beachfront property, which I looked out my
exactly.
window this afternoon, and I still don't have beachfront property here in Tennessee. So maybe
February
Al Gore.
18th, 2019.
Yeah, so Al Gore was a
What was that,
little
30
bit,
years ago?
Yeah, it was a
20
little
years
bit
ago?
off on his
30,
timing
40
there.
years ago? Yeah.
But I swear we're going to get to this Ellen Page video,
Oh, yeah, we
but
will.
we're going to rant a little bit. But,
We ramble.
so here we are, ozone, Al Gore, inconvenient truth, and now we got Ocasio, Commie Cortez sitting here and tell us that we've got 10 years to live.
12 years. No,
12
we got
years.
12 years.
12 years to
Yeah.
live.
But
If
we have 10 years.
10
the
years,
Green Deal.
10 years to get this Green Deal done. 12 years, we're all going to die. But that doesn't take into account that China and all these other countries are blowing a crap load of smog and debris and pollutions into
India
the
and
air.
China.
India and China, thank you. It doesn't take into account the fact that those people aren't going to go into this new Green Deal, which we'll get into that. It's a socialist program. That's that pinky in the doorway, ladies and gentlemen. That's pinky in the doorway to full-on socialism. And that goes back to the straws and all this crazy nonsense going on in California and New York City.
You got people doo-dooing in the street
Yeah.
in San Francisco.
People are doo-dooing in the street in San
and
Francisco.
they're concerned about plastic straws.
Straws are going to take you out.
Are the end of the world. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and play this Ellen Page piece. This is subversive propaganda in your everyday entertainment, which an alarming amount of people want their daily news, but they want it in a comedic way, so they tune into these late night programs. But here's Ellen Page and Stephen Colbert, who was a false conservative in his former show. Shows you that these
What was
people,
his former show?
the Colbert Report,
Colbert Report.
which tells you these people are absolute chameleons
Oh, yeah.
in what they want you to believe. But when the boss comes a calling, they're going to spew out whatever crap they can spew out for the almighty dollar.
Well, I mean, we can see that with Fox News and CNN. Greta Van Susteren went to MSNBC from Fox News, and she was a staunch conservative. And all of a sudden
you got
she's on
what's the
CNBC.
other one?
Allison Camerata went from Fox News to CNN. I mean, she just transitioned like it was nothing. She is a conservative, host on I think she was on Fox and Friends and some things like that. Fox and Friends the Weekend.
Write a check with a couple more zeros, and
check.
boom, she's
That's
a bleeding heart liberal.
For leading liberal.
So without further ado, here is Ellen Page talking about climate change, and then she's going to transition a little bit to a different topic. We'll hear it. Go ahead.
That by 2030, the world as we know it, that's it. That's it. If it was a movie, we'd have Bruce Willis in a suit, like talking about something. Please cast me. Instead,
they did make a movie about this, by the way. It's been 2012. It was what's the asteroid movie? 2 asteroid movies they made about it.
Oh, the asteroid movie was 2012. It was the day after tomorrow. The Earth was going to freeze in an instant. I mean, come on.
Yeah, whatever.
but
Just to interject that they have made this movie over and over and over.
And
again.
unfortunately,
And
Ellen,
it's all evidence of subversive propaganda,
and
trauma-based reality to keep you in a state of trauma.
And I just want to point out before he continues the video that despite Ellen Page's desperate pleas for getting casting, her acting career, her acting skills were not good enough to get her in any of these disaster movies.
Good one.
Good one.
That was good.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
I get you please, Amy Adams, save us. I can just pray that finally the aliens will come and have compassion for us.
That's another topic for another day. The alien agenda.
and Amy can do something.
We
But,
need,
like,
we need
Do you
superheroes.
see what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
the urgency would be so severe, and instead it's like we have a media that's barely talking about it. We have a media that's saying it's a debate whether or not what just happened to Jussie Smollett is a hate crime. It's absurd. This isn't a debate.
I agree.
Let me just
Yeah.
bring it into common terms what she just said. Don't question a damn thing that we're telling you. Everything that we're telling you is the absolute truth. Whatever you see on the news is the absolute truth. Do not debate it and do not question
Have you
it.
ever sit back and you watch the news, and we're gonna segue into a little bit deeper part. We're gonna get into this Jussie Smollett
yeah.
situation and then wrap this thing up here. But have you ever thought to yourself about how you get off from work and you come home and you turn on the news and you try to get your local news, and there's this, tune in at 6 and tune in at 11, how your water is killing you or how your daily commute to work is killing you. It's all these alerts and it's all this flash like, oh my, we're there's something new that's killing us, or something new that's killing our children. It's all about getting you to tune in. And then when you find out that it's something that's, eggs are good, eggs are bad, eggs are this, eggs are that. How many times have we went through this back and forth, and this back and forth? And the whole part of critically thinking is not only when you watch the news, but when you watch your television program, you're watching your Stephen Colbert, is don't let your mind and don't let your brain get into this state of relaxation that you are subjective to everything that these people say, because they're going to throw out to you these trigger words, these trigger titles to your brain that sit there and say, like for the Jussie Smollett situation, like, Empire black actor is assaulted by MAGA hat wearing. You get out here and you see the MAGA wearing group of high school kids assault Native American veteran person. I mean, those are things that trigger your mind. Like, you hear Native American, you think, oh, the oppressive Native Americans, a minority group, blah blah blah. Veteran, this person that served the United. I mean, those are key adjectives to a person that trigger your mind to the point where your brain sits there and says, puts you in an oh my gosh situation. This oh my gosh, I can't believe that this poor pitiful minority group, this poor pitiful veteran who served our country is being harassed, being chastised by this group of big bad MAGA hat wearing people, because they sit there and demonize the MAGA hat as the new Nazi hat, the new Nazi hood. If you wear a MAGA hat, you're going around with a club and a stick and a gun, and you're taking out your enemies and blah blah. This is all these things that the media has put together to not give you the news, but to trigger you to constantly keep you in this state of alert, this state of helplessness, this state of and vulnerability, for the lack of a better term. But what we're trying to tell you is that when you watch these shows, you've got to keep your brain, you basically got to keep yourself and your brain in this constant back and forth dialogue, this back and forth questionnaire. Like, what am I watching? Is this the truth? Is there more to this truth? Analyzing these pieces of information, because, like we said earlier in this broadcast, there's not the point that these news organizations are not giving you facts. They're giving you facts, but they're burying those facts in these trigger word headlines, these trigger word reporting, that your brain sits there and totally disregards the facts, and you go to that oh my god moment, this oh my gosh, I can't believe this, and it totally makes your mind eject the actual facts. It spews those actual facts out of your brain, and you're left with this trigger word like, oh, eggs are bad for you. It's not the fact that, oh my God, I can't ever eat. Your brain said, oh my God,
bad for you,
yeah,
but today they're not.
They're
bad
good. I
for
said
you.
what I
Yeah.
said. So I mean, so you're left with your brain's like, oh my God, eggs are bad for me. Screw what the contents of the report was. Like, oh, eggs are bad for me if you eat, 4 dozen eggs in one sitting. Yeah, they might be bad for you, but eating, 1 egg a day is good. People are constantly programmed to be so busy nowadays that they only get the headlines. So, you know, the Jesse Smollett attack is probably one of the biggest great examples of critical thinking that we can have to kind of pinpoint where we're heading at here and hammering this thing home. Michael's got some video or an audio from this video. We're going to show you that this is from Fox News, so we're going to disclose where we got this from.
Yeah.
This is from Fox News. This is one of the initial reports of the Fox News. These are facts. And these are facts. The headline says, police investigating assault on Empire actor Jesse Smollett as a possible hate crime.
Now, we don't question that there was an assault.
Oh, we're not going to question there's assault. There's definitely an assault. We're learning there's an assault. But, I mean, this is the initial report, so let's keep that in mind.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead
But
and
here's your keywords for he plays this. Empire actor Jesse Smollett. Most people know Empire is a predominantly black programming, so you're automatically, they don't have to say black actor, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know, black guy gets shot by a white
point
cop.
this out on the local news here that if a white cop shoots a black person, that they emphasize that a white cop shot a black man.
Oh yeah, because they have an agenda here. They're going to sit
It's
there.
an agenda.
They're going to sit here and prop up the racism in
Matter,
America
race
to a
baiting.
level that is non-existent in America today.
Because the level of racism that the mainstream media promotes or says that exists
Oh, it doesn't
does
exist.
not exist.
It doesn't exist.
Does not exist.
They're gonna make you think we're living in 1960s, 50s, 60s, where
Jim Crow, yeah.
Jim Crow. We're not, people,
We're
and
not.
it's not the truth. But
No,
they're gonna
it
sit
does
here
not
and make
exist.
they're gonna put you in this constant state of shock. But here we are, Empire actor Jesse Smollett, a possible hate crime. So you've already deduced whatever you want. That you're just passing by, taking little Susie and Timmy to the soccer practice at warp speed throughout your busy day. All you see is Empire actor, possible hate crime. You go about your day thinking, oh my
hate
God.
crime's the trigger word.
Hate crime's a trigger word.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, oh my God, here's a hate crime against this black guy, minding his own business in Chicago. But here's the facts. Here's the facts reported for your critical thinking your critical thinking purposes for this video. Here's actual facts from Fox News.
Right now, but so far, here is what we know. Chicago police say this Empire actor, 36-year-old Jesse Smollett, was attacked on the streets of Chicago here early this morning by two men wearing ski masks. Those men beat the actor physically. They shouted homophobic slurs against him. They poured a chemical on him, believed to be bleach, and tied a rope around his neck at one point. The offenders fled the scene. Smollett checked himself into a nearby hospital and is doing okay. Chicago police released a statement writing in part overnight the Chicago Police Department received a report of a possibly racially charged assault and battery involving a cast member of the television show Empire. Given the severity of the allegations, we are taking this investigation very seriously and treating it as a possible hate crime. And just in a statement released from 20th Century Fox reads in part, we are deeply saddened and outraged to learn that a member of our Empire family, Jesse Smollett, was viciously attacked last night. We send our love to Jesse, who is resilient and strong, and we will work with law enforcement to bring these perpetrators to justice. So far, police have not identified any of these assailants, and we expect to get a statement from Jesse Smollett's personal publicist soon, and that might give us some more first-hand details about this brutal attack. Okay.
So, I mean, there's some facts in there. I mean, we know that this actor, this Jesse Smollett, we know that he was attacked. We know that he had a noose wrapped around his neck. We know from reports that he had
Or a rope.
a rope,
They said
a noose or a rope.
but
Something was tied around this guy's neck. We know that he was assaulted. We know that he was some kind of chemical was thrown on him. I mean, I think the underlying part is you hear that, and if you don't think critically, you think, oh, this is a done deal. This guy's been assaulted. This is MAGA country. But here's
Chicago.
here's where you critically think. This is MAGA country, and this assault happened in Chicago. Rahm Emanuel, I believe Chief of Staff or
for Barack Obama.
for Barack Obama, Chief of Staff for Barack Obama, is mayor, predominantly Democratic area, and
It's
this
Barack Obama's district, I believe,
Barack
when he was a
Obama's
senator.
Barack Obama's hometown. So here you got this heavily Democratic area, and you've got two people that find Jesse Smollett. I mean, I would know Jesse Smollett if he came smack me in the face in the middle
I wouldn't either.
of town
no.
right now. So I mean, I don't know how they go, oh, let's target Jesse Smollett.
How they know he was gay?
So how do you know that Jesse
Unless
Smollett
they
is a
watched
gay
him
black
live,
actor?
of
Yeah,
course, of course.
I mean, still, I wouldn't know Jesse Smollett if he ran me over with a Cadillac.
I wouldn't either.
You've got two random people in the middle of Chicago yelling, "This is MAGA country."
And
There's
it
your
came out later that it was like 20 below zero.
20
It
below
was
zero.
ridiculously cold.
Here is your first critical thinking red flag. Chicago, this is MAGA country. There's where you should stop right there. Your brain should sit there and say, hey, I'm not going to take any more of this crap that this media's peddling to me. I'm not going to sit here and listen to these headlines of this is a hate crime and Kamala Harris and all these wannabe Democratic candidates. Excuse me.
What did Kamala say? It's a modern day lynching?
It's a modern day lynching.
It's a modern day lynching.
They latched onto this thing like a leech on a fat guy's rear end.
Yeah.
But I mean, here they are, clinging to this thing that this is. Oh my God! These mega Donald Trump hat wearing people, racists, are out here hanging this Jussie Smollett, who nobody knows who that is unless you watch Empire, which is 95% of America probably doesn't know who the heck Jussie Smollett is. But here you are, attacked. The man, you go on and you hear these news reports that this guy went to the subway. That tells you
For a tuna sandwich.
Yeah, that tells you what kind of actor you are. That you've settled for Subway tuna sandwich in the middle of the night. But
it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the morning. What actress of Hollywood doesn't go to Subway at 2 in the morning for a tuna sandwich? But you're seen on video. You're the only person on video other than these two suspects.
Well,
so-called suspects.
They deemed them homeless in the beginning.
Yeah, homeless suspect. Yeah, homeless. Let's prey on the homeless people there. So you got these two suspects on there. You're seen on video before attack with your Subway tuna sandwich. You're seen after the attack still holding your Subway tuna sandwich. Must have been a really good tuna sandwich.
Must have been.
Man didn't even drop the tuna sandwich.
$5 foot long.
$5. You're not going to drop that, man. You're going to hang on to it. Come hell or high water. Red flag number 2, the man still got his tuna sandwich in his hand. And then the story doesn't add up as we keep going on and we keep going on and we keep going on. If you critically think the situation, I mean, I knew before we even got to the point where we're at today that this something's not adding up. This guy's faking this thing. I guarantee you this is some fledgling actor on a show that's no longer trying to make relevance and trying to push a political narrative and make himself be relevant. And here we are today. This thing's a fake. This guy paid 2 black Nigerians, huge Donald Trump.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Maybe allegedly black. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, they are black.
Race is fluid. Gender is fluid. Who knows in America today what you are? I think we got some more video. This video here, number 37. Let me pull this up here. So we'll play a little bit more of this Jussie Smollett. This Jussie Smollett situation. And this video here is a CNN report where everybody jumped to conclusion, and it just had to be what the narrative had to be, and it was going to be that way regardless of the facts. So here it is.
Says he was the victim of an attack early Tuesday morning. Police confirmed the actor was captured on video inside a Subway restaurant near his apartment building shortly before he says he was attacked. Smollett's manager called police to the actor's apartment 40 minutes after the alleged attack. When the officers responded, the actor was still wearing a thin rope that he says was used in the assault. According to authorities, the actor had light cuts and a scratch on his face. Police say officers arrived with their body cameras rolling. As is procedure, they asked Smollett if he wanted them to stop recording, and that he told them yes. Chicago PD say they have a dozen detectives on the case and confirmed they're expanding the search of the city's surveillance network, one of the most extensive in the U.S. Smollett has not responded to our request for comment. Tonight, a search for potential persons of interest, wanted for questioning in a now high-profile alleged assault. Ron Mott, NBC News, Chicago. Hey, NBC News fans.
So, I mean, there you got some more critical thinking tools in that broadcast from NBC. Everybody jumped to conclusion this is a hate crime. Kamala Harris says it's the modern day lynching. All the Democratic candidates, clinging to this thing, and some big bad Trump supporters are going around the country and demonizing people and suppress Chicago. I mean, come on. Red flag.
They didn't find anybody with
the guy shows
MAGA hats.
Yeah, no MAGA hats. There's nobody on video with MAGA hats. There's no MAGA hats floating about the streets of Chicago. There's no this guy goes to the hospital with this thin noose rope around his neck. I mean, who goes to the hospital with the rope around your neck?
Well, the police showed up at his apartment
Yeah.
His publicist or something was at his apartment, and the police showed up some 40 minutes later, and he still had the thin rope. Is what the
Yeah, 40
thin rope.
40
around his
minutes
neck.
later, and you've still got this thin rope around your neck. I mean, white or black, brown, green, whatever you are, you're not going to sit here 40 minutes later and keep this rope around your neck.
Unless you really want to eat your
Unless
tuna
you
sandwich.
really, really, really love that tuna sandwich. Subway makes a good tuna.
They do.
I mean,
I've never ate it.
if you want to eat yoga mats and tuna, go to Subway.
I get a spicy Italian.
Spicy
Is that
Italian.
racist?
It's racist.
Can I say spicy
you can't.
Italian?
You can't say Italian.
Oh,
you
okay,
can't say
okay.
Italian.
Can I say spicy?
You can't say spicy.
Okay,
it might
well.
hurt. It might offend the. Yeah, we're gonna bleep that
Yeah.
out later. If not, just hold your ears.
Yeah.
I mean, 40 minutes later, you've got a noose like rope around your neck. You got. I mean, come on, people. The news media is not giving you the news. The news media is not telling you the truth. The news media is not your friend. Fox, CNN, neither one of them, they all have an agenda. They all play for the same team. They all are going to go about the same end game in a different way. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're all bad. I'm not going to sit here and say they're all on the same page, but they all work for the same end goal. They all work for that corporation. They all work for those deep state agenda type people that are trying to program American citizens into believing one way or the other. We've seen it in the election. We've seen it in this Russia hoax. We've seen it in this Jussie Smollett situation. We've seen it as early as 1990 with the GM trucks. My God, all those people that died in the 90s of those side collisions.
I don't recall that being a big issue.
I don't either. But I mean, I'm sure.
No, but the hole in the ozone was huge.
the hole in the ozone. We were all going to die, and from in the 80s.
Oh, and
from
don't go in the sun because you're going to get
yeah,
sun cancer.
don't go in the sun because you're going to get
You're gonna
sun
get
cancer.
Skin cancer.
Skin cancer. You're gonna get skin cancer, sun cancer. You're gonna get skin cancer from going in the sun. I
But
mean,
now we can't use the same sunscreen that they told us because it's killing the coral reefs.
yes, kill the coral reef. So I mean, you can't win, people. There's an agenda here. You don't have to agree with this podcast. You don't
No,
have
you
to
don't have
agree.
to agree
And
with
we're
our
not
views.
asking you
No,
to.
we're not,
I'm not
no.
sitting here.
We're
Neither one of
asking you
us.
to think for yourself.
Yeah, neither one of
Think
us
for
are.
yourself.
Neither one of us are sitting here saying that you got to believe either Jack or Michael that our way is the highway, that it's set in stone. We're just asking you to look deeper. We're asking you, when you sit here and watch your program, your comedy, 8 o'clock primetime show, 9 o'clock primetime show, what are they telling you? What are they trying to normalize here? Are they trying to normalize some amoral situation in this country? Are they sitting here trying to? I mean, I think one of the things that we're going to touch on later that I pointed out is, I mean, and people are going to call me racist or whatever, but that's not the fact. It's just a fact. That's what it is. Let's point it out what it is. It's a fact that more and more TV shows, more and more commercials. I mean, you've got interracial couples. Is it go to this narrative that white people are inherently bad?
Well, that is the
that's the narrative. I mean, that's the
narrative,
narrative that white people are bad. That we have this privilege, and I mean, we're gonna show you later that white privilege is made up. That there are people. I mean, and we can attest to our projects already that I guess the vast majority of the people that we've served have been white people.
Yeah.
Struggling to make ends meet, struggling to provide for their families, struggling to provide for their children. But the end game for Fox, NBC, MSNBC, CNN is all the same. And that is ratings, that is advertisement, that is the almighty dollar that fuels these programs, that hooks you into watching them, that hooks you into watching these programs that are sitting here. And I mean, it started way back then, the normalization of certain things in society, and you see those in programs, you see those in the things that you watch. It normalizes something, and it becomes a big issue. I mean, we can pinpoint things right now, but we're running out of time. We want to wrap this thing up. But the end goal of this program, like we said, was for critical thinking. It was to get you to think beyond what's in front of you, to keep your brain from going into this state where
suggestible.
Yeah,
highly suggestible.
This
state.
highly suggestible
Hypnotic
state.
almost.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch TV, I mean, like Michael said earlier, programming. It's programming. You're being programmed to sit here and watch this program. You think you're being entertained. You think you're laughing. You think your family's enjoying this thing, but they're normalizing something for a political agenda that you always find to come out. I mean, it started. I mean, our prime example that we could point out just top of our head, and maybe we'll do a video on this or a podcast on this. The LGBTQ XYZ movement that went on. I mean, that started before.
Well, I think that started. Well, the transgender movement started way back in the '80s with the little sitcom called Bosom Buddies, to normalize men dressing as women.
Right. So, I mean, you can go back to the '80s and see the slow progression of the normalization of a certain topic that ends up becoming a hotbed political issue that ultimately the American people get behind because, like, oh my God, I'm outraged. I can't believe this. And it's because you've been normalized.
And this is where this is all leading to. It's leading to the sexualization of children and legalization of pedophilia. That's the end game for the LGBTQ community. They won't admit it. They won't tell you that now. But if you would have asked them 10 years ago if the end game was to normalize transgender or to normalize sexual reassignment surgeries or to normalize gender dysphoria disorder, which is the actual DSM term for transgenderism, which, if you go back almost probably 35 to 40 years, same-sex attraction was a clinical disorder. It was categorized in the DSM as a psychological disorder. And if you look on the American Psychological Association website, you can find for yourself that one of their stated goals is to destigmatize homosexuality in American culture, which now we've destigmatized homosexuality in American culture, and now we're on to the T of the LGBTQ community. So we've destigmatized L, we've destigmatized G, we've destigmatized B before we destigmatized G. Now we're on to T. Then we'll go to Q. I honestly don't even know what Q is.
Q and
but then where do we go beyond Q? Beyond Q is NAMBLA.
Right.
Beyond Q is the sexualization of children, pedophilia being normalized, being normalized, being not a disorder. There's TED Talks about pedophilia not being a disorder, rather it being a sexual orientation. But that's, like we've said it a dozen times.
I feel like
already,
we've said that a lot, but we're just getting started.
The future. That's
I mean, and we're
for the future.
like I said, we're just getting started with this podcast. We just wanted to kind of get this out here to build a foundation of where we're going to go moving forward with these podcasts. We're going to cover a lot of topics. We're going to try to do these things weekly. If a topic comes up during the week that we feel compelled to speak on, I think we're going to get together and do those. I mean, we have a lot of different viewpoints. Me and Michael, we're from the same part of the country. I think we have a lot of similar viewpoints, but we do have different perspectives. I'm going to sit here and say for the future that I have a more of a societal, political perspective. I'm going to say that Michael does too, but Michael also is going to bring to the table a refreshing biblical aspect to some of the things that we talk to, a religious aspect.
I'd say political science, biblical worldview.
Yeah, a biblical worldview.
Yeah.
We're not going to try to convert you or anything like that, but I mean, we just have...
We're here to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we're here to tell you the truth.
We know it.
Disagree or agree. The end result or the end goal is that we want you to think critically, dissect what the information has been given to you. Don't just take the media at face value. Do a little self-digging, do a little research, take the time out of your busy day that you've been programmed to have, and just look into the news and the information that you're given and say, wait a minute, is that really the truth? Is it really what's going on? Is there more to this? And do your own research. I mean, there's information out there. There's different perspective out there. There's you know, some of these things have been stigmatized as cuckoo and crazy off the wall, but there are truth in there. You know, so we're going to give you those two perspectives. We're going to throw a lot of those things at you. You can look at that information. I think when Michael gets into his religious perspective, his biblical perspective, I think he's going to give you some things that you can go look at, and you can read it. You can take it for face value. You can take it for what it's worth. You can make your own conclusion out of it. But I mean, that's our goal, is to give you things that you can go to, direct things at you, give you examples, and let you try to re-examine them. We're going to cover a lot of topics. We hope that this one takes off. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, before you wrap it up here, I just wanted to give you some meat to chew on, to think about with this whole Jussie Smollett instance, is that if you really go back and research these, you know, radical MAGA hat, violent, racist incidents, or incidents of hate crimes, you'll find out that the majority of hate crimes that are reported in the United States are manufactured.
Oh yeah, they're manufactured by the left.
By the left. They're manufactured by the left. It's just like, I mean, Jussie Smollett is just another example of a manufactured hate crime. Because hate crimes do not occur as much as they want us to believe. They want us to believe that KKK, white supremacy, what is one of the chants that they always say?
Hey, hey, ho, ho.
No. It's something. I'll think of it before the end.
Yeah, it's left our mind.
No KKK USA or something.
No
like
fascist USA. Yeah, no KKK. Yeah, no fascist USA.
Yeah,
whatever
no
the
KKK,
chant that the
no
left got.
fascist USA. We've heard that at multiple.
I mean, the
left
KKK
wing.
is a minuscule
I don't.
microcosm of its heyday. It's not a threat. It's manufactured. You've got these manufactured hoaxes across college campuses. You've got the Jussie Smollett case. I mean, boom, that's in your face. The college campuses. You've got the Covington High School. Native American. I mean, we pointed that out already.
And those were black individuals that were harassing the Covington High School boys. So the actual racists in that incident were black men taunting high school boys. But the mainstream media won't tell
Majority
you that.
white high school boys.
Majority white high school boys.
Calling these high school boys faggots and crackers.
And, everything.
I mean, imagine the reversal where white kids were calling black people racist names. Yeah. What this situation would have escalated into. I mean, we probably would have riots on this. We'd have another Ferguson on our hands. But
what is real? But what is real is the left radicalization. What is real is Antifa and the violence of Antifa. What is real is anti-Trump individuals who cuss out people for merely wearing a Make America Great Again hat, or cuss out or assault young men or individuals who are wearing MAGA hats, underage, adult on child violence.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all it is. You'll never hear the mainstream media call it that, but it is adult on child violence.
We have normalized in this society, in the midst of all this fake news, this subversive propaganda, like we like to call it. That's an awesome term. Subversive propaganda is that we have normalized, we have okayed with grown adults chastising, racially demonizing children, underage children in American society, simply for wearing a Make America Great Again hat, simply for having an opposing viewpoint. It is now okay to not only attack adults, but to go after children. And there's videos across the internet. You Google it, YouTube it, you'll find them. There's videos of adults confronting and attacking children, malls, restaurants across America simply for having a "Make America Great Again" hat. I mean, I can't recall in the 90s as a 12-year-old that if I had a Clinton shirt on in the era of George Bush, that an adult was going to sit there and criticize me in the face of, in public in the 90s. But this is what we've normalized. This is what the news has normalized, because they've sit there and told you that if you're wearing a MAGA hat in the United States today,
new white hood.
that you're wearing the new white hood, that you are the KKK, you are the Nazi, you are a fascist, you are anti-black, you're anti-brown, you're anti-this,
anti-immigration,
you're this basket of deplorables that Hillary Rodham Clinton outlined for us in the 2016 election.
And she lost, by the way.
She lost all the way, so America did not agree with that. But you're all these things that they keep on trying to tell you that we are and that we are not. And we'll get into those hopefully later on in the videos. So, Michael, you got anything else you want to add? I mean,
no, I don't have anything else. I think that's all I wanted to
So
point
as we're
out.
wrapping this thing up, does the news report facts? Yes, they do. But it's up to you as the individual to critically think for yourself, to be able to take the facts that are in that information and make your own judgment. Form your own judgment. I mean, go back to the definition.
Analyze.
Yeah, analyze.
Evaluate.
Yeah. An issue so that you can form your own judgment. Don't take for face value what the media gives you.
Because they'll wrap the facts in their opinion.
I think there's a saying about the
best place to place the truth, or the best place to place a lie, is between two truths.
Yeah, so when you get a
lie and the truth.
You get a lie sandwich between the truth, you're going to believe everything that you've been spit out. And that's what the media, left or right, is doing. So, go back to the elementary school days. I know people out there my age and older can relate to this, but go back and critically think a situation. Analyze the facts that have been put out there before you. Those are things that we're asking that you to do in this broadcast. So we're gonna wrap this things up. We're gonna put together some more videos. Hopefully you'll support us. I'm Jack.
And I'm Michael.
We're Project 45. We hope that you enjoyed this broadcast. We look forward to more podcasts in the future. If you want to follow us on Facebook, that's at Project 45 MAGA, MAGA. And you can follow us on Twitter at the Project_45. Hope you all have a good afternoon, and hope that y'all enjoyed this podcast. We look forward to speaking with you in the future. Again, think critically, think independently, and make your own judgment.